The sound of the kettle whistling filled the small kitchen as Linda reached for her chipped mug. She poured herself a cup of tea, the same way she had done every morning for the last 40 years. Her back ached slightly, and her hands trembled more than they used to, but she didn't complain. She never did. She had always been the strong one. The provider. The one who found a way, even when there wasn't one. That morning, though, Linda wasn't feeling strong. She had just returned from the local library where she'd worked part-time for the last 10 years. The manager, a kind but apologetic woman, had told her gently, "I'm so sorry, Linda. The city cut our funding. We have to let 3 of you go." Linda smiled and nodded, trying to stay calm, but inside she felt her stomach drop. She had never thought of herself as a burden. She'd worked all her life. Even after retirement, she picked up small jobs to keep busy and make sure she could support her daughter Emma when needed. And Emma, well, she needed help often. Rent was high, and Emma's freelance job wasn't always stable. Linda had helped her with deposits, groceries, and even credit card payments, without ever once asking for anything in return. Not even a thank you. Now, sitting on her worn-out couch with a pink envelope from the unemployment office in her lap, Linda felt the weight of everything settle into her chest. She hadn't told Emma yet, but Emma had texted her just 2 days earlier. "Hey, rent is due Friday. Can you send me $900 like last time?" Linda stared at the message now glowing on her phone screen. $900. She didn't have it this time. Not anymore. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time before she finally typed. "Sweetheart, I lost my job today. I may not be able to help this month. I'm so sorry." She hit send and placed the phone beside her. She took a sip of her tea and tried to focus on the rain tapping lightly against the window. But her peace didn't last. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed violently. "Emma." "What? Are you serious? You said you'd help me this month." "I already told my landlord." Linda's heart started to beat faster. Her thumb moved slowly to reply, but before she could type anything, another message came in. "Wow. This is what I get for trusting you. I can't believe this." Then another. "You're the MOM. It's your job to help me. I wouldn't even be in this mess if you had saved properly when you were younger." Tears welled up in Linda's eyes. She wasn't angry. She was stunned. Emma was 28 years old. She was not a child. She had always needed help, and Linda had always given it. But now, the one time she couldn't, Emma was blaming her, criticizing her, shaming her. Linda typed again with shaky fingers. "I understand you're stressed. I just need a little time to figure things out." There was no reply. She waited hours, checking her phone every few minutes. Nothing. That evening, Linda tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. Then she opened her messages and realized the truth. She had been blocked. No more profile picture. No more status. No last seen. Just silence. Linda didn't cry. Not yet. She stared at the phone like it was a stranger. Then she placed it gently on the coffee table and stood up. She walked slowly to the kitchen, reheated some soup she had made earlier in the week, and sat alone at the small dining table. She looked up at the wall, where a photo of her and Emma from 15 years ago hung in a wooden frame. Emma was wearing a bright pink jacket and smiling wide with her 2 front teeth missing. Linda remembered the day clearly. Emma had won her 3rd grade spelling bee. They had celebrated with ice cream and a movie. Linda had been so proud. Not just because of the win, but because she had raised Emma on her own, worked 2 jobs, and never let her daughter see her struggle. But now, all that sacrifice felt invisible. That night, Linda didn't sleep much. She lay on her side, staring at the ceiling. She thought of all the things she had done for Emma. The nights she stayed up making costumes for school plays. The times she skipped lunch to afford Emma's ballet classes. The late-night calls when Emma cried about breakups or job interviews. Linda had always answered. She had always shown up. But when she needed someone, even just for comfort, her daughter had turned away. Still, Linda didn't get bitter. She didn't scream or break things. That wasn't her way. Instead, she rose early the next morning, opened her closet, and pulled out a small wooden box. Inside it were 3 old keys, each labeled with a tiny tag. Cedar Avenue, Maple Street, Ocean View. She had never talked about those houses. Not with Emma. Not with anyone. Years ago, after her aunt passed away, Linda had been shocked to learn she'd inherited not 1, but 3 houses. Her aunt had no children and left them all to Linda, knowing how hard she had worked her entire life. Linda had kept the homes in her name, quietly renting them out through an agent. She never touched the rental income. It all sat in a quiet bank account, growing interest. She didn't use the money because she had never needed it, until now. As she held the keys in her palm, Linda realized something deep inside her had changed. It wasn't just about money or houses. It was about value. Her value. For years, she had let her love be enough. She thought unconditional support would someday return in the form of kindness. But Emma's reaction had woken her up. She couldn't be the woman who begged her child for love. Not anymore. She stood, got dressed, and began to pack a small suitcase. She didn't need much. Just a few clothes, a book, and the keys. As she zipped the bag shut, her phone buzzed. It was from an unknown number. "Mom, I can't believe you're ignoring me now too." "Fine. Enjoy being useless and alone." That was the last straw. Linda didn't reply. She simply smiled sadly, picked up her suitcase, grabbed the keys, and walked out of her apartment, locking the door behind her. She had always thought her daughter would be the one to visit her when she got older. But now she was the one walking away. Not out of anger, but for peace. And with every step she took away from that building, Linda knew. She wasn't walking away from her daughter. She was walking towards herself. The sound of Linda's suitcase wheels bumping along the pavement echoed softly in the cool morning air. The sun had just begun to rise, painting the sky in soft gold and orange hues. But Linda wasn't looking at the sky. Her eyes were steady, calm, and focused straight ahead. In her coat pocket, she held a set of keys that had never been seen by her daughter, Emma. Not once. They were old and slightly rusty, but each one held a door to something Emma had no idea existed. She stood at the bus stop, her small leather bag in one hand, her heart beating slowly, not with fear, but with clarity. For the first time in years, Linda wasn't rushing to help someone. She wasn't anxious about Emma's rent or her own bills. She wasn't checking her phone for guilt-filled messages. She was quiet, still, and free. The bus arrived, and Linda stepped inside, offering a polite smile to the driver. She took a window seat and placed her bag on her lap. As the city passed by, brick buildings, coffee shops, tired office workers, Linda let her mind wander back in time. Back to the day she first found out she had inherited her Aunt Sylvia's properties. It was nearly 10 years ago. Linda had been shocked when the lawyer said, 3 homes. All fully paid. All under your name now. She remembered sitting in that polished office chair, mouth slightly open, as the lawyer slid the papers toward her. Aunt Sylvia had always been distant but kind. She never had children of her own, and while they weren't very close, she'd always admired Linda's strength. "You raised your girl alone. You never asked for anything. You deserve peace," she had once said. Linda had cried that night, not from greed but from relief. She saw the homes as a quiet blessing. She could have sold them, but she didn't. Instead, she kept them rented through a management agency and never told a soul. Not even Emma. Why? Because Linda believed in hard work. She believed Emma should learn to stand on her own. And if Emma knew there was family money, she feared her daughter would never grow independent. So she stayed quiet, helped when she could, and kept the keys hidden in a wooden box in her closet. But now that silence had become her shield. Her protection. The bus reached the stop near Ocean View Drive, and Linda stepped off. The smell of salt water hit her immediately. The beach wasn't far. She walked slowly down the stone-paved road, passing rows of calm, elegant homes with sea-facing balconies and green gardens. Finally, she stopped in front of a white house with pale blue shutters and a large porch swing. Her house. It wasn't enormous, but it was beautiful. Peaceful. The kind of place people saved for years just to visit for one summer. Linda smiled faintly and pulled out the key labeled Ocean View. It slid into the lock like it had been waiting for her. Inside, everything was just as she remembered. Wooden floors, soft cream-colored walls, bookshelves lined with novels and photo frames. She stepped inside and exhaled deeply, her lungs finally releasing the weight they'd carried for years. She set her bag down and opened the large glass doors to the back deck. Beyond it was a small garden and, further out, the ocean waves dancing against the shore. She sat in the deck chair and closed her eyes. For the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't feel like someone's burden. She didn't feel used or ignored. She just felt like herself. A few hours passed quietly. Linda made herself a sandwich, took a long shower, and curled up with an old book. Her phone stayed silent on the kitchen counter. She didn't check it. But when night fell and the house was dimly lit, Linda finally glanced at her phone screen. 10 missed calls. All from unknown number. She tapped to listen to the voicemail. It was Emma. Mom, look, I'm sorry, okay? I was upset. You caught me at a bad time. I didn't mean to say those things. Please call me. Linda stared at the phone. Her finger hovered over the screen. But she didn't call back. The next morning, the calls continued. 10 more. Then 15. Some messages were angry, blaming Linda for disappearing. Others were full of guilt. Emma sounded confused, panicked, and frustrated. Mom, are you okay? I've been calling. I'm worried. Please, don't be like this. I didn't mean what I said. Are you really ignoring me now? You're acting like a child. I need your help. My landlord gave me a notice. Linda listened to each one with a steady expression. Not cold. Not vengeful. Just thoughtful. She didn't reply. Instead, she brewed a fresh cup of tea, opened the curtains wide, and let the sunlight in. The world outside her window sparkled. Seagulls called in the distance. Children's laughter echoed from the nearby beach. It was peaceful. The next evening, Linda received a different kind of message. It was from her building manager. Ms. Linda, your daughter came by today looking for you. She seemed upset. I didn't tell her anything, per your instructions. Just letting you know. Linda sighed. Emma was starting to notice she was gone. Still, Linda didn't feel ready to return. She needed this distance. This silence. It wasn't about revenge, it was about reflection. She had spent so many years being available, answering every call, helping with every crisis. Now she was giving herself space to breathe, to exist. That night, she cooked herself a real meal for the first time in weeks, grilled salmon, steamed vegetables, and a glass of chilled lemonade. She set the table for one. And for the first time, she didn't feel lonely. She felt free. Later that evening, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message was shorter. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I didn't know how bad things were. Linda stared at it for a long time. Then she opened the contacts and typed in a name. Emma, do not disturb. She didn't block her. She just silenced the noise. She needed time to heal. The days passed quietly. Linda visited the other 2 properties, tidied them, and made sure everything was still in good shape. They were both rented by long-term tenants who were respectful and kind. Linda met with the agency manager, who showed her the account balance. Over $160,000 in untouched savings. Linda nodded, thanked him, and left without saying much. She didn't need to prove anything. She wasn't planning a dramatic comeback or revenge. She was just moving on. Back at the beach house, she spent her days reading, walking barefoot in the sand, and watering her flowers. Each morning felt like a fresh start. Each voicemail from Emma became more desperate. Mom, I went to your place again. It's empty. Where are you? Why are you hiding from me? Please. I miss you. Linda finally picked up her phone one evening. She didn't call back. But she did do something else. She texted Emma one sentence. Let me know when you want to talk, not just be rescued. Then she put her phone away again. The waves crashed gently outside. The house smelled of lemon and salt air. And for the first time in her life, Linda wasn't the mom running to fix everything. She was the woman finally choosing herself. Linda sat on her porch, wrapped in a soft gray shawl, watching the waves roll across the shore. The late afternoon sun painted everything golden, but her thoughts were heavy. Her phone lay silent on the small table beside her. For the first time in years, she wasn't picking it up out of habit. She wasn't staring at it every hour, waiting for her daughter to ask for something. She already knew what was there. More messages. More voicemails. More calls. None of them felt new. None of them felt sincere, not yet. Emma had crossed a line when she said Linda was useless. It wasn't just the word. It was the meaning behind it. All the years of support, sacrifices, late nights, second jobs, erased in one moment. That moment lived in Linda's mind now, like a wound that wouldn't stop aching. She glanced at her phone again. 50 missed calls. 50. Since the day she left her apartment, Emma had called nonstop. First it was angry. Are you seriously ignoring me now? How immature. Then it turned into confusion. Where did you go? Why isn't anyone telling me where you are? Then it shifted again to panic. Mom, please, just tell me you're okay. Please. I'll do anything. Just answer me. And finally, guilt. I was wrong. I didn't mean what I said. I was scared. I didn't know you lost your job. I didn't know how hard things were. Please forgive me." Linda had listened to some of the voicemails, not all. The first time she heard Emma cry, she felt her heart soften, but only for a moment. She knew her daughter too well. Emma always cried when she didn't get what she wanted. That didn't mean her tears were fake, but it meant her pain wasn't always about others. It was about herself. Still, hearing your own child break down on a voicemail, it did something to you. That evening, Linda walked to the kitchen and made herself dinner: grilled chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans. She set one plate on the table. She didn't eat in front of the TV like she used to. Not here. This house reminded her of how life could be when you slowed down, when you cared for yourself. She was learning to enjoy her own company again. But after dinner, she checked her phone once more. Now it wasn't just calls. Emma had emailed her. "Mom, I don't even know if you're reading this. But I had to try. I went to your building again. The landlord said you moved out. I don't know what's happening. I'm scared. I'm confused. I know I said things I didn't mean. But I need you. Please, just tell me you're okay." Linda stared at the email for a long time. Then she closed her laptop. She wasn't ready. Not yet. The next morning, Linda sat in the sunroom with a cup of tea, flipping through a magazine. Her phone buzzed again. Another call. She let it ring. A voicemail followed. She played it on speaker. "Mom, I just found out you inherited those houses. Why didn't you ever tell me? Did you think I would take advantage of you? Is that why you're gone?" Linda's eyebrows raised slightly. So Emma had found out. Probably from the agency manager, someone must have slipped. Or maybe Emma had snooped online. Property records were public, after all. Either way, the truth was out. But it didn't change anything. Yes, Linda owned 3 homes. Yes, she could have helped Emma again. But the issue wasn't money. It was respect. And Emma had thrown that away with one sentence. Still, Linda's thoughts were tangled. Part of her wanted to call her daughter. Part of her wanted to believe the apologies were real this time. That maybe Emma had finally seen her not just as a lifeline, but as a mother. As a human being. That afternoon, Linda left the house to walk along the beach trail. The sea breeze calmed her. For the first time in years, she felt like herself again. And just when she started to think maybe things were healing, the moment came. A knock on the door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her neighbors rarely visited. Her mail was held at the post office. The beach was quiet. She approached the door cautiously, peeking through the curtain. Emma. She was standing on the porch with messy hair, dark circles, and a nervous expression. She clutched a small bouquet of pink tulips, Linda's favorite. Linda froze. Her heart beat faster, not out of fear, but out of emotion. This was the girl she raised. The girl who used to sit on her lap and ask to hear bedtime stories twice. The girl who once made a Mother's Day card with crooked letters that read, "Mom, you are my hero." Now she stood outside, looking lost. Linda opened the door slowly. Emma's eyes filled with tears the moment she saw her. "Mom," she whispered. Linda didn't answer. She simply moved aside, letting her in. The house smelled of fresh coffee and lavender. The sea breeze flowed gently through the windows. Emma walked in slowly, almost like she was afraid to break something. She placed the tulips on the table and sat down on the couch. Linda joined her, hands folded in her lap. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, Emma broke the silence. Her voice cracked. "I've been horrible to you." Linda said nothing. "I got so used to needing you that I forgot to see you. You weren't just my mom. You were a person with your own pain. I didn't even ask how you were doing." Still, Linda said nothing. "I only called you when I needed something. And when you said no, I lost it. I made you feel like you weren't worth anything. I'm ashamed of that." Linda watched her daughter's face, red, swollen, raw. She could tell Emma hadn't slept in days. "I found out about the houses," Emma continued. "At first, I was angry. I thought, why didn't she tell me? But now, I get it. I wouldn't have appreciated it. I would have expected more. I never earned it." Linda's throat felt tight, but she still hadn't spoken. "I don't expect you to forgive me," Emma whispered. "I came here because I had to look you in the eye and say I'm sorry. And mean it. Not because I need money. Not because I want something. Just because I love you." At last, Linda spoke, softly, gently. "You blocked me, Emma." Emma nodded, ashamed. "I did. I lost my job, and the one person I thought would care made me feel like I was nothing." "I know. You called me useless. Tears streamed down Emma's cheeks. I'm not useless, Linda said, her voice steady. I've spent my whole life building you up. Teaching you. Loving you. I'm not perfect. But I was always there. You were, Emma whispered. And I will always love you. But love doesn't mean I'll keep setting myself on fire to keep you warm. Emma blinked in confusion. Linda leaned forward. You are my daughter. But I need to be my own person now. I want you to grow. Not depend. And if I keep bailing you out, you'll never learn how. Emma nodded, silently crying. Linda reached into her sweater pocket and handed her a small envelope. Emma opened it. It was a check. For $900. Her rent. I'm helping you one last time, Linda said. Not because you begged. Not because you apologized. But because I believe you can change. And I'm giving you one more chance to prove it. Emma clutched the check in her hands. Linda stood up. You're welcome to stay for dinner. But tomorrow I need space. I need to go back to choosing peace. Emma stood too. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She simply hugged her mother tightly. I will never take you for granted again, she whispered. And for the first time in years, Linda believed her. But even if she didn't, she had finally learned how to believe in herself. The sky over the beach house was soft and gray the next morning. A gentle wind rustled the curtains, and Linda sat at her kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a warm mug of coffee. The pink tulips Emma had brought now sat in a clear glass vase in the center of the table. Their petals were slightly open, reaching out, as if trying to grow toward the light. She stared at them for a long time. Last night, after their conversation, Emma had stayed for dinner. They had eaten quietly, chicken stew, toast, and sliced apples. No deep talks. No more apologies. Just quiet presence. It had been years since Linda felt her home filled with peace and her daughter's presence at the same time. This morning, Emma had left early. She didn't say much. Just a soft thank you, a long hug, and a promise. I'll figure things out, Mom. I really will. Linda believed she meant it. But she also knew one night of emotion didn't erase a lifetime of patterns. People don't change overnight. But they do begin. And last night felt like a beginning. As she finished her coffee, Linda's phone buzzed. Not a call. A message. From Emma. I got the landlord to agree to a short extension. I'm using the check to pay that. And I applied to 2 new jobs today. I just wanted you to know. I'm trying. Linda smiled slightly. She didn't reply right away. She let the message sit. Sometimes, silence wasn't rejection. Sometimes, it was space to grow. Later that afternoon, Linda stood in front of the hallway mirror. She was wearing her favorite light blue blouse and a pair of soft beige slacks. She brushed her hair, pinned it back, and added small gold earrings. Not for anyone else, for herself. She had a meeting scheduled. Not with Emma. With her lawyer. It was something she had delayed for a long time. But not anymore. She arrived at the office, sat across from the woman in a navy blue blazer, and handed her a folder. Inside were copies of all 3 property titles and her current will. I'd like to make a few changes, Linda said. The lawyer nodded. Of course. I want all 3 homes to remain in my name until I pass, she said. After that, one will go to Emma, but only if she's living independently and fully employed at the time. No exceptions. The 2nd home will go to a women's shelter I've been supporting. And the 3rd I want sold. The money should go into a scholarship fund for single mothers. The lawyer raised her eyebrows slightly but said nothing. Linda continued, her voice steady. I'm not doing this out of spite. I'm doing this so my life means something more than just being someone's safety net. I want to help people who actually need the help, who don't expect it. And I want to give Emma a chance to rise, without handing her everything. The lawyer smiled. You're very clear-headed about this. I've had time to think, Linda said. By the time she returned home, the sun had started to set. The sky was streaked with pink and purple. She made herself a light dinner, grilled cheese and tomato soup, and sat on the porch to eat. The waves moved slowly now, like the world had finally taken a breath. Her phone buzzed again. Emma. Mom, can I call you? Linda looked at the screen for a moment, then typed. Sure. The call came seconds later. Hi, Emma said, sounding nervous. Hi. I just wanted to tell you something, Emma began. I talked to my landlord again and decided to move out. I'm going to crash with a friend for a bit and start fresh. I don't want to keep living in the same cycle. I want to prove that I can take care of myself. Linda nodded, even though Emma couldn't see her. I know I've said sorry 100 times. And I know it doesn't fix everything. But I'm working on it. I really am. I believe you, Linda said softly. There was silence on the line. Then Emma added, also, I found a note you wrote me when I was 10. It said, I'll always be your biggest fan. But someday, I hope I get to be yours too. I think I finally understand what you meant. Linda's eyes filled with tears. That note was taped to my lunchbox for years, Emma added. I never forgot it. I just forgot how much you meant it. They didn't say much after that. Just quiet. The good kind. And before hanging up, Emma asked one more thing. Will you ever come back to the apartment? Linda smiled. Maybe. But not for long. I like the peace here. Emma chuckled. Yeah. I don't blame you. 2 weeks later, Linda received a letter in the mail. It was from Emma. A real letter, handwritten. Inside was a photo of Emma in a new apartment, holding a job offer letter from a publishing firm. On the back, she had written, Thank you for giving me the chance to find myself. You're not just my mom. You're the reason I'm becoming someone better. Linda placed the photo in a frame and put it next to her tulips. And that night, before going to bed, she stood on her porch, looking at the stars, whispering words she never thought she'd say out loud. I'm proud of you. Not just to Emma, but to herself. Because Linda had spent a lifetime giving love. Now she had finally learned to give some of it back to herself. And that was the twist no one expected. Not a dramatic fight. Not a courtroom. Not revenge. Just quiet strength, emotional distance, and a mother who remembered her worth. The story didn't end with bitterness. It ended with boundaries. And in that silence, something rare happened. Respect was born.